how is AI fundamentally transforming project design, management, and delivery in the AEC industry?
Product design, management, and delivery, they're different things, of course, and there's a different set of tools and skill sets that you might need to actually do it. Typically, when I work with clients, they fall into two groups. Whereas one group is like completely in love with AI, or it's all automated, it's all good, Whereas the second group falls into like, okay, I'm too skeptical, this is not going to help me. Nobody's right. The truth is somewhere in the middle, because AI is good. It's not good for everything, but it can definitely help. So what I usually suggest where people should start, as you've said in your...
Welcome to this episode of the AEC Engineering and Technology Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping engineering professionals find technology that fits their needs. Imagine a world where buildings design themselves, construction schedules adjust in real time, and teams collaborate seamlessly across continents. All powered by artificial intelligence. This isn't a vision of the distant future, it's happening now in the architecture, engineering, and construction AEC industry. Today I'm joined by Stjepan Mikulić, founder of AI and AEC, to talk about how AI, paired with building information modeling, is transforming the way we design, manage, and deliver projects. From reimagining workflows to setting new benchmarks for efficiency, sustainability, and innovation, this discussion will change the way you view the future of AEC. I'm your host, Nick Heim, and this is the AEC Engineering and Technology Podcast. With that, let's jump into today's episode.
Okay, so it's now time for our conversation of the week with Stjepan Mikulić. Stjepan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. This is one I've really been looking forward to. And how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Hey, Nick, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the invitation. And I just hope that we're going to discuss some very cool stuff and offer as much value as we can in this conversation. Yeah, so thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And that's what the audience is here for. And we've got a lot to talk about. So let's get right into it. So, Stjepan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspires you to establish AI and AEC?
Yeah. So if there's somebody listening to me for the first time, so as you've said, I have my own firm now for the better part of this year called AI in AEC, so in the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. And what I essentially do is that I help architects, engineers, and construction people implement AI. We do that through online courses, through workshops, whether they're in person or online, because our main part is this education in this space. Because I noticed, over time because I worked with technology for many years, whereas for the last 2 years, I've been very much into AI. So much so that, I guess that's why you invited me here, but I've been so invested into exploring on how we can use AI, not only these are nice images or this is some fake text or fake songs, whatever, but actually how can it help us in our AEC workflows and which pain points can it solve? And I guess what most people know me for is the world's largest database of AI tools for our industry, which is the AEC AI Hub, with more than 1,500 solutions, 1,500 apps that I've researched all myself. And, after you do so much research, you get a lot of knowledge, and people want to, because nobody needs that many apps, right? People need one app that solves their problem. So a lot of people started reaching out, wanted to learn more, and that's how the business got started. I saw that there's a big need for education and for knowledge sharing in our industry. So that's the short story.
Organically grown, and I love it. And I know, Stjepan, since the last time we talked, that count was at about 1,000, right? So it's growing and it's growing quickly. And I think that's something everyone in the industry is interested in. Not only what's happening in the AI space, but how do I actually implement and use it?
I mean, this is what I see with a lot of my clients. And I can also say you've been one of the first ones to recognize that because, as you said, my business grew organically. And you've been one of the first, even customers. We haven't known each other. You just chose, okay, this seems cool. This seems valuable. You bought the Mastering AI and AEC course, which I'm just relaunching soon, now in December. And, that's how we got started talking. But I guess what you've seen there is that, I'm not here to make the noise of how many AI apps are out there even worse. I'm here to actually simplify it so people know, okay, these are the 10 best apps for MEP engineers. These are the 5 best apps if I'm an interior designer, and not only which apps, because this takes 5 minutes to answer, but actually how can I use them and how can I implement it in my process? Because one of the things that I deal every day with is that, I speak with technology-oriented people, and they get it, man. Like, like yourself, we speak and you just get it. Like I tell you something within 30 seconds, you get it. The problem comes when you try to implement it in your whole organization. And I speak with CEOs of like 1,000, 2,000 people in the company. Like, how do you implement it? Like, not only define your strategy, but how do you make it that everybody uses it so you can get the benefits, so you can save time, save resources, higher quality work, and so on. So make your customers happier. So that's kind of the problems I'm dealing with, yeah.
And I say it all the time, Stjepan, it's the finding the tool is the easy part. It's the enterprise-wide rollout and adoption that is the challenge. So
exactly.
I totally get you there.
Yeah, and something I actually haven't said in the beginning was that this database, the world's largest database of AI tools, is completely free just because of that reason. People can access it for free on my website just because, like, if you just need a tool, go for it, man. If you have all the skills needed to know how to use it, to know how to implement it, to know how to educate your people in it, like, just go for it. But most people, at least what I see in the industry, don't know all the ins and outs, and also have a lot of blind spots, because you might, like, we work from what we know of, but we don't know everything, so in employing, let's say, a consultant or an educator, whoever it is, it can really be helpful, because even if you pay like a consultant some fee, that can save you or earn you tens of thousands of dollars later on, because you got the best knowledge from somebody who's a specialist in that. So yeah.
And it's less about cost, right? It's about the value that the money you're spending brings.
Yeah, exactly. Like because we're all in this together. Like I think that we just need to, get the best knowledge from each other, right? And this is the let's say the hole I'm trying to fill with my company in the AEC space.
And so, Stjepan, and let's talk about, for those in the audience who are aware that AI exists but aren't 100% sure of its applications to the space, how is AI fundamentally transforming project design, management, and delivery in the AEC industry?
Product design, management, and delivery are very like they're different things, of course, and there's a different set of tools and skill sets that you might need to actually do it, or like properly. So like the best thing would be if I had a specific, let's say, example that we are working with. But what I think that a lot of people underestimate. So typically when I work with clients, they fall into two groups typically, whereas one group is like completely in love with AI, or so much so in love that they think it's one-click solution. Like I just click there and it's all solved for me. It's all automated. It's all good. Whereas the second group falls into like, okay, I'm too skeptical. This is not going to help me. My job is way too complex to even use AI. And I always say that the truth is somewhere in the middle. Nobody's right. The truth is somewhere in the middle, because AI is good. It's not good for everything, but it can definitely help. So what I usually suggest where people should start, as you've said in your question, like for people who know they should start with AI, but how to do it, like there's loads of reports that if you know how to use AI for personal productivity only, we're not talking company-wide solutions, platforms, implementation, whatever. We're talking for personal productivity. You can save yourself 12 hours a week. And these are some real benefits. So just imagine going home on Thursday afternoon. You're like, or, Thursday lunch. You're like, okay, I'm going home. See you guys, So, yeah.
And I think that's a great place to start. And there is a philosophy on artificial intelligence that, it's this groundbreaking technology that can change organizations almost overnight, which is true or could be done. But that personal productivity is a very easy thing to just pick off the tree and start to use immediately, right?
I agree. And I think that one of the big differences that people need to understand, especially when it comes to our industry, meaning the building industry, AI is not like BIM. Like it's not just a new technology that came in, because what happened with BIM is that you got specialists for BIM, and everybody else like maybe uses it a little bit, maybe knows how to open Revit and, add some things or view some drawings, whatever, but the specialists are, the BIM manager, BIM coordinators. It's not that. I always tell that AI is like the internet, meaning that it's for everybody, and everybody should have the skills to know how to use it. Because even my mom and my grandma, even they Google stuff, even they use the internet, So this is what I try to tell people. It's for everybody, but to know how to use it requires some training, requires some, let's say, mental shifts, because it's a new medium, in my opinion. It's not like I'm just going to use it as Google. It's going to give you something, but it's not going to be the best at what it's actually made for.
Absolutely. So then, Stjepan, what are some of the key considerations for AEC firms when they're implementing AI and other emerging technologies?
Key considerations. I'll give you an example. I think that speaking with examples is maybe the easiest way to understand, because a lot of people, let's say, start with, okay, they come on a meeting and maybe their CEO or like their board, or like they said, okay, we understand AI is this big technology. There's a lot of things happening. What do we do? Where do we get started? And then they typically start at exploring what is out there. What are the solutions? And they very quickly get overwhelmed with all the solutions. Okay. And I actually have a client from Dubai, and I'm working with them closely, and he said, listen, he's the IT director, and he's trying to implement AI for his firm, right? That's his responsibility. The problem is that he started with the AI world, and then he's like, we got on a call, and he's like, listen, I'm just way too overwhelmed, I can't do it, what do you suggest? I'm like, listen, flip it around. Don't start with the AI world, there's over 50,000 AI companies. Like, even if you choose one, you might be missing out on something completely different. 50,000. How do you make this choice, man? So what I told him is that no. Start the opposite way. Start with your company and your issues. And if you don't know about any pragmatic first use case issues, just ask your colleagues. What are you struggling with? Where is the bottleneck? What is taking a lot of time? What do you think could be done better than, what do you think can be done faster? Is your model crashing? Such things. So start with the problems, and then try to map out which AI tool or automatization tool can help.
I love that stuff, and what I call them are problems worth solving, and not immediately going to a solution in search of a problem. It needs to be the other way around.
Exactly, yeah.
Totally with you there. And keeping on this train of thought, Stjepan, so in your experience, which AI tools or applications have made the most significant impact on productivity in AEC, and what's made them stand out to you?
So AEC, listen, the problem that that we have with the AEC is very wide. It's a very complex industry. I give this example because a couple of months ago I was in Norway. I was working with a client, and they produce fish farms in the middle of Norwegian North somewhere. The week after, I was speaking with a client in South Africa. They're making family home. They want to do interior design. Then later on, I spoke with a structural engineer. They're building something. It's so complex, the AEC industry, that it's hard for me to say these are the apps that you should check in. So I think that if anybody listening has a specific question, or if they can explain what they do, that would be helpful, And I work, for example, even from lighting designers to architects to whoever it is, BIM consultants. Some apps that I think that, I always, one general answer I can give is I try to separate these apps into more of a percentage points change. Bear with me on this. So you typically say that, listen, personal productivity stuff is like a 5% difference, right? And this can mean a lot, right? You can save 12 hours a week for personal productivity. And here, I mean, obviously, ChatGPT and even Loom. Instead of meetings, let me just film a quick Loom, what I started doing recently a lot. These kind of tools to speed up your processes, even Notion or Miro or whatever you use, within, and even Copilot, even though I don't think Copilot at its current stage is very good. I wouldn't recommend it, only for heavy office users, but otherwise don't go roll out Copilot right now. But I think that this is, let's say, the 5% thing. Why? Because you're going to solve 5% of your problems, meaning that everybody writes emails, but it's not changing your business so much. You can make it a bit faster, but really. And then I speak from those kind of solutions to maybe a 70% solution. And a 70% solutions are typically not even AI apps. They're AI enablers. You have an app called Speckle. I just posted about it recently, where instead of relying on these clouds like Autodesk Construction Cloud or Procore, which are file-based systems, you rely on Speckle, which is open source, it's free, and it's data first, meaning that you share your data. So when you have like the newest something to share, you just share a link. You don't share files, But this is a 70% solution. And what I mean by that is that it takes a lot of effort for you to implement it. It's not like, today I decided I'm going to use Speckle and my whole company and all of my partners are going to change. No, it's going to take a lot of time to implement it, to get everybody on board. But when you do, 70% of your business is going to change. It's going to be more automated, easier workflow, higher quality productions, whatever it is, whatever it is you sell, be it hours, drawings, models, inspections, whatever you do. So,
and it sounds like the input is very closely tied to the output or the success that you see. So it's like you stated, personal productivity tools, low commitment, low input, lower results and output. And then the opposite is, of course, true for anything that's enterprise-wide affecting an entire company.
Yes, exactly. I mean, listen, I think that people should think of it as a snowball effect, because we are all in this together. And most people want to learn. Most people want to level up with time, because they understand the market is changing. So you need to change with it. So most people are in this, let's say, boat. At least most people I speak with, So they all get started with like this personal productivity stuff, How can I make this faster? How can I sketch out this faster? How can I make a presentation faster? Whatever, from these kind of stuff. But soon they realize, okay, this has worked well. In some cases they didn't. How can I improve that? Is it prompting? Is it a different tool? Is it, what am I missing? But at some point you actually realize, like, how can I make the bigger change for my company? Because if you're somebody who tries to, let's say, get a better title, better job, earn more money for the company, or even if you're like a business owner and you want to get more leads, like, this is interesting to you. If you want to be that technological leader and be at the front, because we're still kind of in the early days, even though AI is here, right? So.
Absolutely. And Stjepan, that's a great segue into my next question, which hits home for me. So coming from an industry that's compromised of a lot of small players, right? One-man shops, 2 people, 5 people, 10 people. How can these smaller firms with limited resources adopt and benefit from AI technologies in their operations?
I would say something that you might not expect. Not even AI initially. I would say automation. Mapping out your process. So what I typically do when people underestimate they underestimate the power of this exercise. But just if you list out what you're doing on an everyday basis, and let's say your tasks 2 weeks, like for the last 2 weeks, what did you do? Is it writing emails? Is it making presentations? Is it putting data from here to there? Is it copy pasting stuff? Is it communicating on Teams, on chat, on meetings? What is taking a lot of time? Is it meeting, note taking, whatever it might be? Map it out and then see, because you need to understand your process in order to find the solutions or some automations, right? AI is, let's say, a feature on top of that you can use as a small business owner. But I wouldn't start there. I would start mapping out your process, seeing what can be automated. Or if you already know everything of this, then you might like, okay, what is my next step? How can I get more from what I'm already doing? Because usually people I want to explain this. You don't need to do much different. You just need small tweaks to get big differences. That's the thing with AI. It's allowing you to do that. Meaning that, let's say an example, I have on my website, when people want to sign for this database, I have a form, right? I have a form with like a few questions where I can use it to segment my customers. So I know how big are the companies, what their biggest challenges, and I'm using that info to, make a better course. Because if everybody's problem is like navigating the AI market versus implementing AI versus making an AI strategy, like if most people say AI strategy, that's what I'm going to focus on in the course, right? Because I want to cater to the majority in this use case. But what AI is allowing me to do, because I have right now 3,600 entries, it would be impossible for me, or I would need to spend months reading through everything and all the comments and what people think, and maybe this person said that, and I would also get very emotional because it's my business. So, you take it very personally. Whereas with AI, I can just put it into an AI, like, give me this information, like, tell me what is the key problem, what is the common across architecture companies, what is the common across BIM companies, or whatever it might be. So you can extract more knowledge out of the data you already have, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think there's commonalities between firms, right? Everybody's writing emails. everybody's collaborating. Everyone needs meeting minutes and summaries. Everyone needs an efficient way to just compile all of the different sources of data that are coming from them: email, text, calls. And it sounds like to me there's some very simple solutions that, although AI based, right, aren't too expensive and maybe are pretty simple for these smaller firms to implement once they understand what their problems are, like you started with.
Yeah, and I always think that people should really speak with, let's say, somebody who's in the space, because you might have some blind spots. Blind spots is that let's say the email example. You write emails, you need to speed up your email writing, whatever it might be, but you might have a blind spot of like how you write them. Meaning that, let's say you're a business owner, you're like just a project manager, and you're trying to land a contract, trying to put a bid out to get more work or whatever it is, There's an AI app, just one example out of 1,500 that are researched, right, called Substrata. It's currently only for Google Workspace, but they're going to be rolling out for Outlook as well, where it's reading through the lines. Meaning that you plug it into your email, in this case, Gmail, and when you speak with clients, whoever that might be, lead generation, B2B, B2C, whoever it might be, and AI is taking notes of their answering time, their, how they write, what they write, and then it's advising you on how to answer. Meaning that it's not going to answer for you, of course, but it's advising you. It's like, this person is very cold, don't pitch them. Or this person is very interested, try this kind of angle. Or this person seems very busy, be short and concise. They're advising you for this. And I'm like, wow, if you had like this kind of an advisor next to you, how many more deals would you close? Because especially in our industry, we have a lot of specialists, engineers, whoever it might be, and they're very good at what they do, but very hard to communicate with people or to sell, So I think that this is just one blind spot that I see people have because they don't even know about AI apps like this. So
I think and like you said, your database is a great way for people to explore, right? There's no pitch, there's no pressure. It's here it is. And then, if you have any questions, just let me know, which I think especially a lot of the technical professionals appreciate, because that's just the way that we roll, right? But, you and I being engineers, we kind of intuitively understand that.
Yeah. So, of course, if people want to learn more, or they're like, let's say, curious after this, the database, as you said, it's completely free. I would also advise following me on LinkedIn, because I post weekly on new stuff, new apps, new insights about the industry, specifically for our industry. But for anybody who, let's say, they get the information, they trust that, what I speak is actually real and brings real results, because this is what I'm presenting with those kind of, you can say, free examples. They can always take the Discovering AI and AC course, which is a very low cost fundamental AI course. And this is for people who want to build real AI skills. So what I focus on in my courses are, you can say, fundamental knowledge, that because it would be otherwise impossible. I would need to update my courses every day, But I focus on teaching the fundamentals, like what is AI? How does it work? Answering some tough AI questions like, what about data security? How do we protect it? What about hallucinations? How do we avoid them? What about training bias? What about AI laws? What should I respect? What is out there, and so on. So I'm answering all of this in my courses in Discovering AAC and Mastering AI and AAC. People can learn more about it online and actually build some real AI skills. So I think that's like the next step of people who are ready to move there. So.
Absolutely. And Stjepan, thank you again so much for joining us today. So it sounds like LinkedIn's a great way to reach you. Any others, if the audience has more questions or wants to just ping you on anything else we talked about today?
Yeah, I think that's the best way. It's going to be, because my company actually just recently grew from one person to two people. I hired a person. Yeah, thank you so much, which I'm very excited about. A few years ago, I never knew I'm going to have a company. But now it's a reality. I actually have people hired, which is amazing. But yeah, it's going to be either me or my assistant answering. But yeah, I'm very, let's say, approachable, because my main mission is to help people transition to this, because I just see that we have much more pressing problems than just like, we need higher bottom line or we need more sales, which are okay problems. But I think as an industry, we need to change, because there's so many buildings to be built. I don't know of a single city in the West that is affordable, that has like normal house pricing, that a normal couple that just wants to buy a home and live, not let alone, when you want to sub-rent your Airbnb or whatever, that is that is affordable. We have a very huge housing crisis all over the world, whether it's the West or the East where there's no housing at all, right? So we just have so much to build on one hand. On the other hand, we have these pressing global warming issues, and like how to balance that out. That's my core mission. I really want to help people and help our industry move there through education, through educating them on faster results, on better results, on higher quality stuff. And I think that that's the core idea of what I do.
Excellent. Stjepan, thank you again so much for taking the time to join us today.
My pleasure, man. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, and all the best to you and to the show and to anybody listening. Yeah.
Absolutely. Until next time, Stjepan, take care.
Yeah, likewise.
Please remember, you can find the show notes for this episode at aectechpodcast.com. There, you will find a summary of the key points discussed in today's episode, as well as links to any of the resources, websites, or books mentioned during this episode. Until next time, I wish you the best in all of your engineering and technology endeavors. Thank you.